In order to have a negotiation, you have to have conversations. And I think it's apparent, abundantly clear, that there has been a great divide between the players and our commissioner or the league office in order to have productive conversations. And now Nafisa's statement that she made in her exit interview is accountability. WNBA players never want to throw out all the smoke. They don't. They only do it when necessary. They're always strategic. They're always calculated. You talk about the t-shirt they wore at All-Star. That was a collective decision. These are members of the executive committee of the WNBA making these statements. And obviously, they understand the magnitude of the moment.
You have got to hear what supposedly just went down, because it's absolutely wild. Just imagine this scene for a second. Adam Silver, the commissioner, brings his fist down hard on a boardroom table, and the sound just echoes. He's staring directly at Kathy Engelbert. His voice is pure ice as he tells her, "You went too far." We're talking about a situation involving 4 players, a tangled mess of hidden directives and terrifying threats. Silver made it clear this was the end of the line. In that one single intense moment, the very core of the WNBA's world was completely blown apart. Now, before I dive into all the details, you really need to pay close attention, because the tale I'm about to unfold is crazier than anything this league has ever seen. In this completely theatrical, made-up version of the WNBA, the atmosphere was already thick enough to cut with a knife. You could sense it everywhere you went. The athletes were walking on eggshells, the fan base was completely outraged, and the corporate sponsors were beginning to raise some seriously tough questions. But no one, and I mean absolutely no one, could have possibly seen the bombshell that was about to be dropped. Rumors started to circulate that 4 of the league's most promising young talents had been let go out of the blue. There was no heads up, no official statement, not a single word of justification. The entire league just clammed up, and that's precisely when the rumors started spreading like a brush fire. This was not some standard roster adjustment. An order had come from somewhere, from someone with a lot of power. The entire sports world just held its breath. Stories began to leak out, suggesting that in this fictional drama, Kathy was growing incredibly angry over the players' increasing autonomy, the changing dynamics of fame, and the strong bonds of loyalty being built inside the locker rooms. The narrative suggests she tasked a special internal operative with a sinister objective: intimidate these players, frighten them into compliance, and then push them out of the league with as little noise as possible. But as we've all learned, secrets like that have a way of getting out.
And at the end of the day, she's worried about her. In all of her statements, it's all like, well, I got us here and I should. And Kathy, no one cares. Literally, no one cares. Like how you're sitting right there, that's how we feel every time she speaks. Every time she speaks, us as players, that's how we feel.
And, I think what people need to understand, we need great leadership in this time across all levels. This is a moment we have to capitalize on. So that's honestly what I would say. I think there's, Fee said it all with what she said. And, I think the points she made were very.
And that is exactly when the entire situation exploded. One of the players, taking an unbelievable risk, leaks a really damaging voice memo. A second player does the same, releasing a jaw-dropping email thread. Then a third athlete goes on social media live with tears pouring down her cheeks and says, "We weren't let go, we were hunted." And with that statement, the game completely changed. In this fictional narrative, Adam Silver appears not as a typical commissioner, but as a force of nature. He allegedly clears his entire schedule of top-level meetings and marches right into the league's main office without any warning. Eyewitnesses said his expression was a perfect picture of pure, unadulterated shock. He goes through the reports. He puts on the leaked audio. He sees the gut-wrenching live videos from these crushed young women. And then he speaks the 7 words that shattered the internet. If this is real, Kathy destroyed the league. What unfolds from there is something straight out of a movie. Adam Silver bursts into the executive meeting room. Kathy glances up, doing her best to look composed, but you can feel the pressure crushing the air in the room. Adam tosses a heavy file onto the glossy table, the thud bouncing off the walls. 4 players, he starts, his voice chillingly quiet. Internal intimidation. Going after our future stars. What on earth was going through your head? In this made-up scenario, Kathy's response is bone-chilling. "I did what was necessary. They were getting bigger than the sport. Right around this time, the media narrative was already on fire, with people like Stephen A. Smith on First Take calling for her actual resignation, saying that Caitlin Clark's recent comments were the final straw. He basically argued that when the league's golden goose, the player who drives all the ratings and attention, speaks out, you have to listen. He felt she was echoing the entire league's frustration with its leadership, and that Engelbert's weak response to public criticism was proof she wasn't fit to lead. He just kept repeating how pathetic her comeback was, which only added fuel to the fire that everything the players were leaking was true. Back in our fictional showdown, Adam's jaw nearly unhinges. You can see the rage and the disappointment fighting for control on his face. He looks her dead in the eye and tells her, the players are the league. An intense, heavy silence just hangs in the air, so thick it feels solid. After what feels like an eternity, Adam Silver rises to his full height and passes judgment. Kathy, you are suspended, starting right now. Gasps ripple through the entire building as the information spreads. Security personnel move in, a definitive sign that this isn't a bluff. Phones are immediately pulled out as people begin recording, transforming this tense private confrontation into a digital earthquake that rocks the entire sports landscape. Just outside the headquarters, crowds of fans start to form. Some are applauding Silver's move, others are openly weeping for the condition of their sport, and many are chanting for the players to be brought back. The investigation then shifts into overdrive, and its discoveries are mind-boggling. It becomes clear, again in this totally fabricated reality, that Kathy was attempting a total power grab over the league's destiny. By getting rid of athletes she deemed too strong, too influential, or simply too adored by the public, she figured she could cement her own authority. What she wanted was absolute dominion, but her quiet little takeover instead set off a massive uprising. Coaches began to speak up for their athletes. More iconic players from the game's history condemned the action. Even game officials started leaking anonymous tips, all with the exact same message. This has gone way too far. This wasn't a single blunder. It was a domino effect of catastrophic decisions. Inside the locker rooms, the emotional damage was immense. One player reportedly collapsed, saying, "We poured our souls into this game, and we were treated like the opposition." Another player added, "All I ever wanted was to be respected. Instead, I was made an example of." The fans took over social media, their posts and videos, all calling for justice for the athletes. And you know what? They were absolutely right.
These are numbers when people talked about at the beginning of the season, the high tide lifts all boats or whatever, basically. Like, if you buy into this, everybody is going to eat. Yet you had people fighting tooth and nail the entire season, not wanting it to be this way because other people weren't getting flowers, or she was getting too much attention, or she gets a special whistle, or I'm gonna check her off the ball here just because. And then her teammate cheers for her for throwing her on the ground. It didn't get better. And it's disappointing to me because it's not every player in the WNBA. And I'm sure that there are many players who are happy to have her in the league. And it's like, if it was my league and somebody was coming in and bringing millions of people, like, I would be excited about that, because you know what? That's a chance for me to impress millions of people who weren't watching before.
The sponsors, witnessing this total meltdown, begin flooding the league's phone lines, wanting explanations, and making it clear they were ready to withdraw their financial support. The pressure just keeps mounting and mounting until it's simply too much to handle. This is the moment Adam Silver makes his final move. He declares, the players must be protected. The league must have integrity. And this situation is over. A full-scale emergency meeting of the board is convened. Adam Silver gets up in front of them and lays out every single shred of proof, every leaked text, every person's testimony, every single piece of incriminating information. He then delivers the formal declaration. Kathy Engelbert has been terminated from her job, effective immediately. The room erupts into a mix of reactions. Some are stunned into silence. Others look deeply relieved, and a few actually start to clap. But Adam's not done yet. He closes the meeting with a very strong vow. The WNBA is going to rebuild, and we're going to do it by putting the players at the absolute heart of every single thing we do. From now on, that news sets off celebrations across the fan base. The players who were targeted are brought back and rejoin their squads. The sponsors, now seeing a league dedicated to doing the right thing, renew their contracts. The signal being sent was unmistakable. This league can only succeed when its athletes succeed. Adam Silver approaches the podium for one last press conference and states, "This is the start of a new chapter. There will be no more intimidation, no more threats, no more picking targets. From now on, there will only be the game." The camera slowly pulls back and the screen goes black. The story is over, and the WNBA, in this intense fictional saga, was altered forever, and for the better.